inspiration behind choosing different sources beyond the ordinary. And also you will hear details about the innovative tools, software, and methodologies personally employed. And of course, we'll hear about the challenges encountered when embracing unconventional methods. So here tonight with us, we have Meltem Şahin and Taylor Schmidt. Meltem Şahin is an artist and designer. She completed her master's degree in illustration at MICA, Maryland Institute College of Art, with a Fulbright scholarship. Her works have been exhibited in more than 30 exhibitions. Her animations have been shown in 7 countries, and her gifts have been viewed more than 250 million times. She created PMS, one of the first augmented reality exhibitions in Turkey. Her work with AI technology has been selected for the permanent collection of the National Gallery in London. Apple, Meta, and Giphy are some of the companies she has worked with. And we have also Taylor Schmidt with us tonight, who is originally from Chicago and moved to Silicon Valley a year ago to go all on AI. He grew up in third-generation construction family and went to School of Architecture at the University of Notre Dame. He worked at 4 different high-end residential firms in Chicago and LA before starting his own designs consulting practice. He has now put his traditional architecture endeavors on pause to pursue a new venture during this AI room called Corbo. So welcome, guys. We are so glad to share this night with you all. If it's okay, I would like to start with Meltem. So, Meltem, hello, welcome.
Well, thank you very much for inviting me. It's really exciting to be here with all the amazing guests and the team. Thank you for inviting.
So, how does your digital art creation process differ from traditional methods, and what advantages or disadvantages does this unconventional approaches offered you through your process?
So the challenges I encountered in the unconventional methods, right? So today I made a presentation for you, and I would like to answer your questions through my slideshows. And I'm gonna share my screen right now. So I will start with the challenges part. So everyone can see my screen?
Yes, we can.
Okay. So I would like to start with this work. This is actually IG filter. I'm creating IG filters since maybe for the last 4 years. And I really like IG filters because before I was doing augmented reality, and IG filters are actually using the same technology. So as soon as they started, I was delve in, and I was so happy with IG filters because I was thinking that filters are almost like costumes or performance, so people wear them and then they can become someone else, and they're almost also ephemeral. They are nothing without the user. So I was intrigued by this view of filters, and when I'm doing filters, I do these faces. This is actually the unskinned version of the face in the program I use. Then I put my sketches on top, and I do cell animation. So in cell animation, you drew each frame. So you do 12 frames a second. So after I finish my animations, I like make them like sprite sheets and then like upload in the program. The program looks something like this. And in this program, by the way, I started this like as soon as I said like this release, this program. So it was in the beginning, like when you like follow technology, like the ones that I like. So like at the beginning, they're like sometimes not good. So they were like lots of bugs, and I was all the time like crashing and everything. So it was like a little bit of disadvantage of being early bird, but I really enjoyed also being part of this like filter family, I would say. So if, for instance, in this, like when I'm designing IG filters, I always think about, you need to think about like, you can see like there are different faces there. There are like people with turban or glasses or different face shapes. So you have to consider all of them. So the filter should be like fit to all of them, and then they should work like that. So you should consider all this different details. And the work I did was this. And in here, I was thinking that like people with the IG effects or filters, people like to record themselves. Mostly they use selfies. But I was thinking that how can I like turn this down? So I thought that when people are recording themselves, they cannot see anything. When they close their eyes, actually the animation start and they start like petting you and loving you. It's like, it's about like looking inwards, but also it's about like living, like feeling like this uncanny feeling inside of you while recording yourself. So I wanted to challenge that. And actually with that filter, they like invite me to Facebook developers group. So they're like, they really like this idea of the filter. So we were like, when they are developing the app, they ask for the features and stuff. And there's another work I would like to show for this. This is the PMS show. I was talking about, like Seren said when on her CV. PMS show is about actually premenstrual syndrome of women. And I wanted to create a show with only like women artists, and they were sharing their own experiences. And we used AR technology for that. And in this, there were posters on the wall, and when they were recording, there was an app that we developed. And so with that app, they were checking. And actually the date is, sorry, is the wrong one. It's actually, it should be 2017. And that time there wasn't any apps that like ready apps now, because nowadays there's like apps like Artivive and like iJack. So there are different apps for artists actually to try AR super easily. Maybe like the students in here can try if they're interested in also. So during those times, there wasn't apps like that. So we have to develop our own app. And during writing the code, we take one library from somewhere else. And in that library, we didn't realize there was like a comment in the coding. It was saying it's only limited to 10 pieces. And because before the exhibition, we were checking each piece one by one. And we didn't realize that like it doesn't actually read 20 of them at the same time. So like 1 hour before the exhibition, we realized that. Of course, we couldn't because in Android, you can like instantly, when you're developing app for Android, you can instantly change it. But for Apple iOS, it takes time. So for the exhibition, we have to adjust, like adapt.
Meltem, are you with us?
So I think we're gonna have to wait.
Yeah, I think she had a. Yeah, okay. So as we wait for her, I think we can continue, or should we wait? I don't know. Just I'm gonna give a couple minutes and then we will continue with Taylor, our other panelist today. So just okay, just I think we were gonna give her a little time, and then right now I think we can continue with Taylor. Hello, Taylor. How are you?
Hey, I'm doing good. Thank you for having me.
We're so excited for you to be here with us tonight. So I just want to talk to you about what inspired you to transition from a traditional architecture career to entrepreneurship in the AI field with Corbo, because you have you start as an architecture, but then you change your pathway. So can you please enlighten us?
Yeah, absolutely. Happy to talk about the origin story of drinking the AI poison. So I am originally from Chicago, and I'm part of a fellow institution there. It's called the Lumen Arts Cultural Foundation, and that organization gave its artists early access to OpenAI's DALL-E 2 when it first came out about 2 years ago. And, at the time, everyone was doing NFTs and Bored Apes and kind of showing the use cases for the metaverse. But for me, I was actually designing a contemporary Frank Lloyd Wright residential home. So I see people on this demo typing in these, Picasso painting a cat on the moon, and it looked really good. But for me, I was curious about, what does a contemporary Frank Lloyd Wright living room look like today? And DALL-E 2 started to generate these images that I eventually showed my clients. And for me to get to that image before AI means I had to go on Pinterest, look up examples of Frank Lloyd Wright architecture and contemporary architecture, analyze both options, create a 3D model of a potential space, and then render over that. That was like 2 weeks worth of work. And now with AI, you can go straight from the idea in your head to that image and discuss it with someone, which for me was black and white. Like, this is shifting the way we design. And as soon as I started using AI in my own design process, I eventually came to the conclusion that other people can also use AI in their design process. So as good as OpenAI is, that's kind of the technology behind a lot of this AI boom that's going on. But there weren't any specific tools for architects to use AI in their design process. And after about a year of using this in my own designs back in Chicago, I actually moved to Silicon Valley to start building software in the space that would allow designers to use AI in their design process.
Yeah, that's great. So, so has your background in traditional architecture and experience in high-end residential firms influenced your approach to your new venture Corbu, especially in terms of utilizing AI for digital art creation? What connections or insights have you drawn from these seemingly distinct fields?
Yeah, so my background's very traditional. In the sense where we actually were taught how to hand draft and hand draw, which for architecture, especially in today's technology, that's not as common. So it was an interesting dichotomy to be used to drawing everything by hand, and now we're using AI to do the designing for us. However, this technology is being described as a leapfrog technology, meaning you don't have to use the latest technology prior to AI to still benefit from it. So for architecture, that means if you draw by hand or if you draft out a building facade, not using technology, you can still use AI in that design process. So traditionally, a lot of design technology is slow for adoption because you have this huge learning curve on how to use it in your current process. But what has happened with AI is this barrier to entry has really gone down. So even designers who might have a more traditional approach to their design process, drawing by hand, trace paper, even using a drafting board for architecture, they can still use this new technology in their design process.
Okay. So I would like to ask you, what lessons have you learned from your experience in running your own design consulting practice? And how do you apply those lessons, including aspects related to digital art, to Corbu's entrepreneurial journey in the AI realm?
Yeah, lessons learned. Great question. Oftentimes, when you are working with a client, that design process is facilitated by taking the idea in your head to showing them what that means, or trying to extract the idea that your client's thinking onto paper. And the beauty of AI is, as soon as you have that idea, you can start to generate potential results that you're thinking of in your head. So when you have a client involved in that process, design all of a sudden becomes a lot more efficient. As soon as you have that idea, you generate it, and then you're able to discuss it. Whereas before, if I have an idea, I have to spend a couple hours sketching it out, or I have to go online and find example images of something that I'm kind of thinking of. But now, if you're able to apply this technology into a client-facing interaction, they will feel much more appreciative being involved in that process, because if they have an idea, you can now generate it with them and then talk about it. What do you like about it? What do you not like about it? So I think as artists, you don't have to be as focused on how this can improve your own design process. I think if you kind of look external, and anyone who you're either working for or working with, get them involved using this technology too.
As someone who has ventured into unconventional methods, like combining AI and digital art, what advice would you offer to fellow entrepreneurs who are interested in exploring unconventional methods, but are concerned about potential setbacks, especially in the realm of creative technology and artistry?
Yeah, absolutely. So when you're dealing with AI, you'll probably hear this term bias, right? The model is biased towards certain outputs, which can be a little restrictive in your design process. It's always showing a similar result. That can lead people to go one way that perhaps they don't want to go. But on the other end, you can also call a bias fine-tuned. So if you have your own digital art and you train a model to understand your style, you now have a fine-tuned model that is reflective of how you design. So with all of that, I would have you kind of think about what your own approach is with it, because you can get really expressive in using AI and start combining poetry and start combining music in what you're asking from AI. But just be aware that AI is trained off of and pulled it. AI has been trained off of data that's been scraped from the internet. So if you want a higher quality model, maybe that means you actually gather your own high quality data set and then use that in your design process.
Okay, thank you. I think we lead on with Meltem, but we can always. I have sorry, I have one final question. Then I lead on with Meltem, and then we will have a Q&A session with you guys. So my final question is, what do you think is your future risk in your venture?
Yeah, it seems like with artists, a lot of people talk about this issue of copyright. You know, if you've taken everything on the internet and you use that to train a model, that doesn't seem right. You know, no one's getting credit for their work. And I see that there is starting to be a lot of public pushback in the use of this. And the truth is there is no answer. There's no legal answer. I think people have their opinions. So on one hand, you can view that as, you know, I don't morally think it's right to use this technology because people aren't given credit for work they've already done. But on the other end, you know, we've all walked through a museum and we've seen art hanging up on a wall. And whether or not you're aware of it, you are absorbing that data as a human. And when you're sketching and drawing and thinking of new ideas, you might not consciously recall that you saw a similar detail in a painting, but you are producing that work. So I think there's a couple ways to view what's happening with AI, and just be aware of both arguments and try to understand everyone's perspective about it, and then think about what resonates with yourself.
Okay, and how do you think you will overcome it?
Yeah, I think Japan's actually taking a pretty interesting approach to all of this, which will probably be what most countries do. We're moving towards a future where data and data privacy won't be as much of a concern. Because today, if you have a piece of art posted on your website, I can take that piece of art, just the image, and then regenerate a new image of that art. And it's not the same, it's different, but it's in the style of. So what that means is you can take existing art, change it, and then train a model. And that's not copying, right? That's using work that's inspired from. And then this is where it gets really blurry. But if you look at what Japan has done, they've basically said if you use any data to train, there are no issues with copyright because they see that future where data is going to be as common as the internet. And if you need 10,000 images of Picasso paintings, you can just generate 10,000 images of Picasso paintings and then use that to train a model. So personally, I'm just kind of waiting to see how the world reacts to all of this. But I think Japan has a pretty interesting model at the moment.
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much for your time. And we will have right now, we will lead with Meltem, and then we will, of course, with you too, have a Q&A session. Thank you for your time. And Meltem, where are you? Yeah.
Before you start, I'm sorry, like to all people, I am in a different city for an exhibition and we don't have an internet on the hotel. I was using my mobile phone's internet, but it's finished. But I bought a new package right now. That's why I had this unexpected fall from the Zoom. Sorry for that again.
No, not a problem at all. I mean, it's okay. It's like you're here right now. It's all that matters. So, yes, where were we with you? We were, we can continue with, how do you decide when to look beyond traditional art sources for inspiration, and what criteria do you use to evaluate potential sources for your art?
Like for my art, generally, actually I tend to not, because I'm like creating visual works, so I tend to not to look at the visual works, and I'm trying to like inspire myself from like, I don't know, novels, like poems, or like music, or like I find it more inspirational for me to work with like different media than like what I create. So I feel like it feeds me more. But also I'm gonna share my screen again. I do like political works as well, and I'm sure like Turkish people in this like conversation remembers we had a like coup attempt in 2016, and there was like a curfew afterwards, and like that curfew I was feeling like overwhelmed and like feeling like stuck. So I wanted to make a piece about it. So I was like looking at in like different like inspirations for my photos. This time it's visual, but so I was looking at those. Then I created these sculptures, and in these sculptures they're made of wooden, and it's like CNC router cutted, and they are actually AR sculptures. And these are the animations I created for them. So in here they are just doing the same routine again and again and again, and they are not like thinking out of the box. They're like stuck in the box and they cannot move, and you are like mimicking everyone else. So you are not trying to be like so in the highlights. So you're like trying to be like melt with the crowd kind of feeling. So everyone was because like a little bit scared and like this feeling. And then these were the like AI version of this like pieces. And also that time we didn't have any ready app, so we have to develop an app. And for this time it was only for 3, because like these pieces were sold to the 3 different people.
So I'm so sorry to interrupt, Meltem, but I think you're skipping your slides, but we are not able to see them. We're stuck in one slide. Can you can you reshare it? Yeah, it's okay. Yeah.
Now it's okay?
Yeah.
Okay. So did you see these parts? So these were the
No, we couldn't, sorry.
So these are the AR sculptures I created. And these were the, like, I'm just gonna show did you see these animations as well?
No, sorry.
No. These were the animations that like I was talking about, like being stuck and like trying to not in the front line and trying to melt in the crowd. So this was the piece. And I also created like stickers out of it. So I really like Instagram stickers. And like, I don't know, after I create GIFs, I always upload them as stickers. Like stickers became anonymous, but like some people also like complain about it, so because no one knows who created it. It's like maybe similar what like Taylor said about like with AI things, and there's like a similar concern in stickers. And also in stickers you can like reach up to billion views like very, very shortly, but again no one knows who did it. But actually I like it, like because for me like GIF culture and sticker culture are actually similar. They're like alternative subcultures kind of thing. So I like that, this kind of feeling being anonymous in the sticker realm. And like to come to your question, like I also find inspiration from my like older versions. I really like it. So like time to time I open like my works and I like iterate them and then create something new. So the same kind of feeling during the curfew, it occurred to me during the COVID pandemic. I was feeling like everyone was like, again, like stuck in their houses, stuck in their beds. So I thought that it was like almost like a choreography, like dance choreography on our beds. We all do as a world kind of thing. So we were like in our bedrooms, like doing the same thing. So I decided to create these GIF patterns. And then last year, it exhibited like that as an immersive experience in Istanbul. Seeing them like this big was like really also like exciting for me, and because they can become like stickers, or I'm changing them to like massive like screens, and it's really interesting for me to see like both ends. And yeah, that's it.
Great. They are really amazing. So Could you walk us through a specific project where you employed a unique methodology or software to achieve a desired artistic effect?
So maybe like I also like in my art pieces, I really like to use like digital technology, but I also really like the like handmade touch. The mistakes and accidents come with the human touch. I really enjoy them. Like for instance, when I do like laser cuts or CNC, I intentionally make them like with mistakes, or like I paint them a little bit roughly or something like that. I like breaking this like perfection with imperfectionism. And I'm just gonna share my again, and then sorry, I'm just gonna make it quick. You can see it, right?
Yes.
Okay. So generally when I'm like making animation, they say for animation is art of motion. And what I'm like, when I'm gonna make an animation, I always act. I always like try to understand with my body, like, because it's really important to understand timing also, because also especially I'm doing cell animation. It's like really important to understand the timing and the movement. Then I created this GIF. It's called "Don't Die with the Dead One." In Turkish, we have a saying like that. So I was playing with this idea. And I'm gonna show just briefly like how I was telling that for a second I drew 12 frames. So it's like crazy amount of frames, and you have to understand each frame exactly how people act. And what is interesting is that like when you like, because there are techniques called like rotoscope, maybe you know, like people draw like from the video directly, like from the footage or something like that, but they feel like not real kind of thing. Although they are more real than the animation, they felt like something is missing, or sometimes people call it like that, because in animation we have a different sense of timing and different sense of movement. So like it's like works differently in this realm. And so after I created this animation, I was like, I want to mimic this time I want to mimic my animation. So I start doing those videos trying to mimic my animation exactly like it. And again, I was inspired by older version of me, and it turned into like AI version. And this is called Sketches with from AI. I did this, I think it was 2019. In the first one, you can see my animation, and the second one is like, say, video of artists mimicking the motion in the animation. So I was trying like different like programs, and it was actually basically a sketch for me to understand different programs. Nowadays, actually, like there are much more developed programs from these. Now you can just like do like text to video generation, like text and rap. So like, but during those time it wasn't like that. So this is the piece that was selected for the National Gallery thing. And I think I had an advantage here, because in AI, everyone is like, mostly it's like use like 3D, or like there's a certain taste, and I was outside of this taste because I had like more like traditional kind of look. So I think it was my advantage of being selected like in this gallery, because also this was almost the first AI piece I created, because I was doing AR for years. But in AI, suddenly it was selected to all the conferences in the world, like with AI and something like that. So I was thinking that maybe being like a niche area in this AI world was the one actually who puts me forward in this piece. So that's it.
Seren, you're muted, Hemi.
I'm sorry. So how do you balance the desire for innovation with the need to maintain consistency and coherence in your work?
It's actually a really good question, because I work with different, like, I'm an illustrator, like I make money from illustration, and art is almost like I put my money in and I like wish my like all my desires come true in those areas. So there are like different work areas that I do, like sculptures, animation, and illustration. So and also when I was doing, I remember when I do my first animation, because I have like I really like the human touch and the naivety of the lines and the sensitivity. I wanted to like people feel some emotions with the lines. And so I was thinking that how this like jiggery effect, or like how this can be achieved in animation. So I thought that maybe this like jiggery effect, like my lines were always like shaking because I'm drawing them again and again. And so that like shaking kind of like being on the process, not like in the like finished version. So it felt like more like a process, like search for something. So I thought that, oh, okay, this fits with my drawing style, so I can go with this in my animation style. But like with also new technologies, actually it's a fun like game to play. Like when you like discover like new technology, you all like delve in, because I really like learning new things. And so when I start something, I was like, oh, how I'm gonna like show my style in this technology, how it's possible. So then you start thinking and you start finding new ways of like telling your story. And actually it helps you a lot as an artist or designer, like to try different mediums or different technologies. All the limitations of the technologies also teach you a lot to like how to like cope with this, and then like I don't know, get over the obstacles. And like the way I get these obstacles in this, for instance, AR thing, like give me inspiration for like my AI piece sometimes. So for me, it's like really good to like, I feed from different techniques and medias.
Thank you for your time and presentation too. So I think right now we can lead on with our Q&A session with our participants. So is there any questions? Yeah, you can go on or you can write. I can read for you. So anyone with a question? Or I can lead on with the questions, actually. So I'm gonna be the first one too. So my last question for you, Meltem. What advice would you offer to fellow artists who are interested in exploring unconventional methods like you?
I think the most important thing is like not to like be afraid of like taking risk. I think it's really important. And I like it, and I told you before, it's like a game for me. So I don't like, of course it's important for me, but I don't really care if I do something and it's like looks really bad. I don't care. I do it again and again. And I think it's really important. And I know that at the end I will find the way. If I tried enough, I will find the way. And also another like important thing is like, it's really important to like be able to learn something deeply just by yourself, like without any like school or anything, just like sitting on your computer or whatever, and then start learning something and creating your own branches of information and learning that system. And I think it's the like key to everything. Like if you know how to learn something, I think like you can do like anything, and you can try different things. And if you, especially if you are not afraid of trying, I think it's the formula for me.
That was a great answer. And I have a last question to Taylor too, actually. because I think entrepreneurship in the field of AI is an unconventional pathway too. So where do you see your business in next 5 years, and how do you think your business will help digital artists?
Great question. In 5 years, what we're trying to do here is empower anyone to design anything in architecture. So although right now we're mainly focused on businesses, in about 5 years, there will be a consumer-facing aspect to the product, which in our case, you can imagine today, if you want to redesign your kitchen, you go to an architect who is using our software. But in the future, there's a way that you as a consumer can take a picture of your kitchen, start redesigning it, and then go straight to an architect and be like, hey, this is what I think looks good. Is there anything you would add to it? Let's go get this remodeled or get this built. So I think in 5 years, it's letting everyone kind of design anything in this built world.
But how architects will feel about it? Do you think it's gonna limit the architects, like, I don't know, like freedom or?
Yeah, there's a lot of talk about this in many disciplines, right? If AI can write up a legal contract, what's the point of a lawyer?
Mhm.
And if you're spending $50,000 to remodel a kitchen, do you just want to use AI to get that done? Of course not. You want that human component and that human touch involved. So AI might be able to facilitate some of the early process, but it's different if you just want to take a picture of your kitchen and see what it looks like versus actually getting it remodeled. And because we're dealing with the real world, there's going to have to be humans involved. So I think it's gonna allow for there to be better design throughout architecture, but it's not going to replace architects.
And also, I wanna add also, you were saying that like people can like reproduce things and each of them will actually be different. And actually it's not like really different from like Cindy Sherman taking photos of other people's photos. So it reminded me of that. It's like good comment.
Yeah, I think a couple of years ago it was interesting. I forget the artist, but their gallery exhibition was Instagram screenshots of someone else's post. I'm sure you could Google this and find out, but that's really interesting, right? Because that artist kind of collected existing images for their exhibition, but it wasn't their original art piece. And I think that starts to get you thinking about, you know, every artist steals, right? And now if we let technology do it, all of a sudden it becomes a big issue. So I encourage people to really think about, even in your own design process, I mean, part of your training is taking a Picasso painting and then sketching over it, right? You're quite literally copying and trying to understand brushstrokes and how they got that masterpiece. So I think technology amplifies this training process of a designer and artist, but it's no different than what we're doing as people.
So we have questions coming. I will start with, actually, do you want me to read for the participants? Do you want me to read, or you can just ask them if you want, but I'm happy to read if you're yes, apply.
Aslı is raising hand, so maybe should like.
Oh yeah, she asked a question, so Aslı, you can go if you want.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, I've already written my question, but I can read them. My first question is to Meltem. Can discovering or using new mediums be difficult for someone who is very new to this field in terms of digital art? Do you have any
recommendations? Yeah. If you want, I can rephrase.
Yes. No, I heard it. I mean, like, for instance, I give like IG effects filter workshop even like to people who even like don't even know like basic programs. And actually like I think like all the programs, not all the programs, but design programs, they have like some certain language that works all the time. After you get used to one program, you can go to the neighbor program like very easily, and after a while like all the programs like I don't know like will gather like in your belt, and then it will be your like, library. So maybe like which new technology were you interested, because like all of them are also like very different. But for instance, in my case, I'm using mostly AR, and in AR technologies you don't do even nothing with the AR programs now. You just like upload your image and your animation and it works by itself. And so the technologies are becoming like easier for us to use. And also the AI programs when I was using, they were a little bit harder than now, but now everyone I think like can use it with just like little bit of tweaking and like hitting the buttons without understanding, and then eventually you would understand. And I don't know, there are like ways that's like, do you want to say like which like area are you interested in, or will be enough for you?
I would say, for example, coding and Midjourney, using
Mhm.
Midjourney, most of like these two fields. But now I'm kind of interested in making filters, like using AI as well.
Mm-hmm. For filters, I could say that like there's a forum, like a group in Facebook for filters, and if you're stuck, everyone asks their questions on the Facebook group. I know like most people, I don't even use Facebook anymore, but I just use Facebook for these groups. But I just use YouTube to learn the like program, and also Spark AR has like a really like big tutorial library also, and you can find everything step by step. You can start with the introduction, and also there are tons of free videos on YouTube. But the one I like felt like the most valuable was like this like feeling of community in this Facebook, and everyone was asking their question. You can even see that another person asked before you. And for the Midjourney, and like you're talking about prompting, right? So in Midjourney, you just actually, there are prompting is actually really interesting. I like it, and some people say that maybe Taylor, you know, like I think AI robots wrote it. There was like a manifesto of promptism, and they said that now in promptism, like it's how you like write it is important, like because you don't create any like visual art anymore, but how you like put your words in order, how you like mention them, there are like certain tricks for them. And so I was reading some ebooks on how to prompt also, so maybe you can see other people like prompts also, like in the Midjourney chats you can see like check other people's like examples. And also you can maybe some like if you're interested, there are like some ebooks on like how to write good prompts for AI also, you can check them, I think.
So we have just 4 minutes left for the Q&A session. So I see, Taylor, you're answering it as we speak, but I think we can move on with another question. Ömer Yusuf Çınar, he just asked a question too for Meltem. He said, where do you find your inspiration for your art? And what's your advice for young and new beginning artists? Love your art, he said.
Thank you, Ömer Yusuf. I kind of actually like answer like some part of this questions. For me, inspiration it can come from everywhere, and also maybe I can like answer it differently. For instance, before COVID, I was living in Istanbul, And after like with COVID, actually, I realized when I'm stuck in the house, I realized that most of my ideas were coming to me in public transportation. And I realized that when I stopped it, I was stuck because I realized that in public transportation, and then I was thinking that like why public transportation works for me. I think because like in public transportation, like your minds our minds are very strong, and when I put my mind outside, like all my stress and vulnerability about like creating work is go away like with the view, because my mind is dealing with the view, with the people inside, but at the same time like my other part of my mind can create like think like more freely. So I find afterwards like walking is like really good for me also. And so like during those times, like when I'm doing something else, I can find better ideas. So for me it was like that. And mostly I was telling before, I was like for years I was inspired by philosophy, like philosophy of art, aesthetics. And then like maybe it's the like part of being in Turkey, because in Turkey like lots of bad things happening, and after a while I become more and more politic, and I felt like more like activist. And I like when you like start to feel in these like issues and things, like you are like becoming like more and more stuck, and like creating something else feels like hard for you. So now like my inspiration is actually like coming from the daily like challenges we face, and also mostly I work on like, I didn't say like women's rights and queer rights and like body and like those around those areas. So these are my like topics also. So it's helps me because actually my like teams happened like it, I didn't like choose them, but in time they like I was doing that, and I could able to categorize them, understand them after years, that actually I like these topics and these teams, I work around those. So like you became also after a while you become like sensitive around those issues, and you follow like these issues, and then it's actually like opening, like when you like focus your area also on the teams. It was working for me because I like use different materials and techniques. So in those things I'm like super spread out, but on the teams I'm like more focused. It's helped me like to work like that, so I can find more inspiration in these like little tunnels I have, kind of.
So we have a last question. It's for Taylor, and then we will end this lovely panel discussion. So this question is for Taylor from Sarah. Do you think that by talking so much about AI, are we ignoring some of the possibilities it gives us? For example, assuming that technology will kill traditional design.
Great question. Great question. Yeah, this is a big talk with many artists at the moment. Are we ignoring some of the possibilities it gives us? Now, let's use photography as an example. Why would you sketch a building instead of taking a photo? Why would you take a picture instead of generate a new image? And I think understanding that analogy can make you realize this is just a new medium, and you can use it if you want, but you don't have to. And just like with sketching, you can use charcoal when you sketch. You can use a watercolor to paint after you sketch it. You can use a pen after you sketch to highlight and bring out details. And now you can also use AI. It's something to, it's like going to art school. You kind of like you learn about color theory before you start playing around with colors, and you learn the basics before you you get to the end. And even with photography, you understand aperture and shutter speed and how all of this affects the image. And now with AI, you just have to understand prompting. And if you're asking to see this kind of output, this is how you get there, right? So I think it's something to keep in mind as you're using it in your design process. But think back to your own artistic education. You know, you start early and then you expand on. And even with photography, that started rather primitive with film, and now there's digital art. Well, did that kill film photography? People still use it, and some people prefer it over digital photography. And the same thing's going to happen with AI. And in a couple of years, there will be a different kind of technology that advances art, and now generative AI is going to be looked at as photography. So I think it's a very exciting future. I encourage you to start playing around with it and view it as a new creative medium, not a replacement or not the end of humanity.
Okay, thank you to both of you. Just coming here and answering all of our questions. It was a lovely experience. Thank you to you both. So I will yield the floor back to Atalay, because he is going to explain what's next on our agenda. But thank you so much, Meltem and Taylor. It was lovely to meet with you.
Thank you.
Thank you guys. But
Thank you.
before I take it over, I see there's like one more questions asking space to one more question for both guest speakers, but I just want to know that if ask our guest speakers if they have time for maybe answer one more questions. No?
Yeah,
that's fine.
Yeah? Okay. So I think we have one question for Taylor from Fatma, and we'll have another question from another Fatma. So I can give my mic to them at first. Maybe Fatma has already asked her question on the chat, I assume, right? Fatma, would you like to voice it or hello? Or maybe I can voice it out for you. So this is a question for Taylor. What can you suggest as a starting point for combining architectural design with digital expression?
Midjourney. Yeah, Midjourney is really good. Go on their Discord, start seeing how other people use it for architecture, and that's a good starting point.
Okay. Can I have a really related question? This is gonna come from me actually. I know that this like Midjourney, artificial intelligence, and everything that we're now seeing on the web, we see that it's just getting really trendy almost every second, but it just all happened all of a sudden. We know that there have been some like softwares been tried to get developed or anything, but what if they all like ends and like traditional design becomes famous once again? How do you think will the architects or digital artists will navigate their careers in a world of ever evolving technology?
Yeah, great question. I'm going to use an example with an accountant, the person who does your taxes. In about a year, AI can just do all of that, right? So now why would someone hire an accountant? Well, this was a talk given to us about 6 months ago, or maybe more, in the Valley. And this accountant is not just an accountant, he's also a comedian. So people work with him because he makes doing taxes fun and enjoyable. And he's adding a human component, which is something AI can't do. It's resonating with your audience. It's being something more than just your craft or something more than just your profession. Yeah, so I would think about it like that.
Yeah. The reason why I asked this question is because nowadays I'm using AI a lot at my job almost every day. I'm not super proud of it because sometimes I think that it kills my creative abilities. So I'm so scared if AI just disappears all of a sudden one day, I have no idea what I'm gonna do. This scares me a lot. But I also want to understand that there should be like alternatives for me to move forward. So coming back to the traditions, the traditional lifestyle is a huge scare moment for me. So this is why I wanted to.
I share the same scare actually, like because I'm addicted to ChatGPT. I don't use like Midjourney so much, but I use ChatGPT a lot, and was like, at first I was like, am I getting dumber? Because like it's like writing everything like better than me kind of feeling at first. But after a while I was thinking that because like sometimes I ask for like this work I'm doing, how would you describe it? And then can you like tie this concept or something like that? And then I realized that like some like people are saying that like before like we were like searching like on Google to learn something, and they're saying that with AI technologies we are actually like we are not searching but we are creating new things each time. So like also like this was like really like inspiring for me, and I got like excited. So like that scare leaves me behind. Like I don't know, after a while I was like super happy. I think like Taylor said, it's like just a tool, and I'm not like scared of it anymore. Still like the human mind is what very much needed in like emotions and minds, like in all like pieces. So yeah.
And how about Meltem? There is one question for you as well. Maybe for a quick answer. How did you decide to publish your art to the public instead of keeping it to yourself? This is a big decision to me, actually.
And actually it's like for me I don't yeah, it's like I have like certain times I act differently. Sometimes I like as soon as I do it I share it, but sometimes I get in like I create work for months, I don't share it, then I suddenly like share a lot. And sometimes I'm also like feeling like is it like too much, like is it like not aesthetic enough for Instagram, for instance. Like I don't sometimes like I have like these kind of doubts, and I'm like suddenly what are you doing, Meltem? And stop it. If you want to share it, you share it. And sometimes, but for instance for me, because I'm an illustrator and animator mostly, Instagram is like it became actually people's portfolio. Like even like art directors are saying that they don't even check our websites, but they checked our Instagram right now. So if I feel insecure about something, I don't make a post of it, but I make a story of it. And after I see like people's reaction, it gives me like more like courage, or like I can see like how people like commenting on it, and then I switch to like posting. And but in my websites I share everything, like all my sketches and everything. I really like to like also like show like process videos and sketches, and I think it's really important for other people to understand the artist's mind. Yeah.
Wonderful. Okay. Thank you guys both for this very valuable, amazing session. I personally really enjoyed, and I'd like to appreciate Seren for her amazing moderation as well. So before we call it a night or morning in your time, Taylor, we can also quickly mention the next step, the next session. Today, we had the honor of hosting Meltem and Taylor for exploring unconventional pathways in digital art creation. And on Saturday, 11 a.m. GMT, we'll have another panel discussion. We'll be hosting Oğul Öztunç, Ebrar Eke, and Kadir Kayserilioğlu for panel discussion titled Integrating Traditional Techniques with Emergent Technologies, where we will discuss about how the artistic